Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining our special presentation about Bixby Marshland. We are extremely fortunate today. We have a team that is remote, and we actually have a team that is on site. Bixby Marshland designed this special presentation due to the pandemic and the closure of ability of everyone to go to Bixby Marshland. So we're going to start the program about 3 minutes after 5 o'clock so that we have enough time and everyone can get in. But we thank you very much for joining. So while we're waiting for optimal viewing enjoyment, if you could please mute yourself. Today's event is going to be recorded and put on Pasadena Public Library's YouTube. Also, live transcript, closed caption is available. You can actually click on that and then you can see the live transcript of the program. So I just want to welcome everyone again. Thank you so much for attending today. I want you to all know that today's event is going to be recorded. Your picture will not be shown. You can see the recording on YouTube Pasadena Library. The option for live transcript, closed caption, is on your device. So please click on that if you would like to do so. Also, we're so fortunate that Bixby Marshland is here because we have an unusual, wonderful program for you. We have presenters that are remote, and we have presenters that are actually at Bixby Marshland. So before we get started, I want to remind you all that the Pasadena Public Library, unfortunately, our central library is closed due to the need for seismic retrofit for unreinforced masonry walls at our central library. We have opened up 8 of our branches for extended hours. Our 9th branch will be opening up soon. So go to our website and you can see that you have the opportunity to visit our branches and also to do curbside pickup as well to get your materials. So today's program is part of our Summer Reading Club program, the One City, One Story 2021, and we're featuring a book, Leave Only Footprints, My Acadia Journey, Leave Only Footprints, My Acadia to Zion Journey Through Every National Park by Connor Knighton. This book is available for checkout at Pasadena Public Library. Also, if you sign up for the Adult Summer Reading Club while supplies last, you can pick up a free copy at any of our branches. It's while supplies last, 1 copy per person, please. Connor Knighton will be speaking on the library Zoom next Thursday, June the 24th at 5 p.m. You can sign up for it exactly how you signed up today on the Pasadena Public Library news and notices for June off the shelf. So I hope you will join us next Thursday afternoon as well. So I want to tell you a little bit about who's presenting today. We want to welcome Maria and Nathan, who are the remote presenters representing Bixby Marshland, and Basil and Genesis are actually at Bixby. So Bixby Marshland is a remnant of a formerly extensive natural freshwater wetland known as Bixby Slough. Over the years, most of Bixby Slough was destroyed due to development. To restore the Bixby Marshland, the site was vegetated with a large number of native plants and regraded to improve the flow of water. A pump was installed to lift stormwater and urban runoff from Wilmington Drain into the marshland. After going through the marshland, the water exits back into Wilmington Drain. Through this restorative effort, the site has been rejuvenated, renewing the marshland's health and increasing its value to wildlife, the environment, and the plants, birds, fish, and animals that inhabit it. And so today you're going to see a wonderful PowerPoint about Bixby Marshland, and then our presenters are actually going to take you to Bixby Marshland so you get a feeling of being exactly there right now. So I want to turn the program over to Maria and Nathan. Welcome, Maria and Nathan.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Good afternoon. Thank you for having us here. My name is Maria and I'm representing the Los Angeles County Sanitation Districts. I will be your host today for our live virtual tour of Bixby Marshland. You may be wondering, what is the Bixby Marshland Tour? And as Christine already mentioned, the Sanitation Districts actually has been responsible for restoring the marshland since 2009. And usually on the first Saturday of every month, so always like clockwork, whether it be rain or shine, we open the doors to Bixby Marshland from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. Obviously, due to the pandemic, we've kind of, we have the marshland closed, but at that point, we kind of transitioned to virtual tours, live virtual tours, because as I mentioned it earlier, a little bit of virtual nature is better than no nature at all. So we're very excited to show you what we have going on today. I do want to say that what we see today really depends on the time of day, the time of year, what is a migration season. So we do ask for your understanding for that. And now we're gonna get started. So I'm gonna share my screen. Oops, sorry. All right, so where is Bixby Marshland? Bixby Marshland is located in the city of Carson, and that's just right down the 110 freeway from Pasadena if you keep on driving. Right before you get to the LA Harbor, this is the Sepulveda exit is right here, and this is Figueroa Street. So Bixby Marshland, there's a black gate. You don't really know what it does, but that is the entrance to Bixby Marshland, and that's where we're gonna go live after I kind of set the stage for you guys. Bixby Marshland is 17 acres of marsh, and you may be wondering why is the sanitation districts in charge of a marshland? Well, the sanitation district's largest wastewater treatment plant, the Joint Water Pollution Control Plant, is adjacent to Bixby Marshland, and we can see the footprint of our facility right here in yellow. As Christine mentioned, through our expansion process, we kind of took over restoring the marsh, which we opened back to the public in 2009. One thing we can notice here is that the marsh is right here, but we notice there's this larger water body right here. That's the Ken Malloy Park. And that's because this whole area used to be the Bixby Slough, which we have a picture of right here from 1940s. We can see, even though it's in black and white, we can see the extent of the marsh. And as the city grew, we can see how much it shrunk. Here's Ken Malloy Park again, and here's Bixby Marshland. So in the early 1990s, the sanitation district stepped in to try to restore the marsh, which we reopened back to the public in 2009 and has been going strong ever since. So when we talk about marshes, or at least since the time I got involved, I always thought marshes were just water, but it turns out that wetlands actually have three distinct phases. You have the aquatic phase, which is where the water is, the riparian, which is between the water and the land, and then the upland. And the vegetation and the animals that you see in these three phases, it varies, which is why marshes actually have a lot to offer. Marshes are actually known as the kidneys of the landscape because they help filter the water and clean it before it gets to the ocean. So besides the beauty, recreational beauty that marshes have, they actually offer, they have this very functional purpose for us. So if we were there live, and we're going to go there very shortly, I remember I mentioned that off Figueroa, there's this black gate. The black gate takes you to this parking lot where which park our car. And I'm going to show you guys a bird's eye view of what is Bixby Marshland, 17 acres of beauty. This footage was taken back in the fall, so we also have some beautiful, wonderful colors. If you look down, we'll be able to see the paths which we can enjoy. Right now we're enjoying it virtually, but when we're open again to the public, you can walk by yourself on your own or with a docent who shows us a guided tour. Beautiful colors, and we're gonna be walking this together. Basil and Genesis will be sharing that as well. And here we get to the water part of the marsh, which we always kind of wonder. We have our beautiful bridge that takes us over, and then we finish our loop. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful Bixby Marshland. I call it the hidden jewel in Carson, which I hope you guys can come and join us. So with that, I'm gonna stop sharing and I'm gonna go live to Bixby Marshland with Basil and Genesis, our friends who are gonna take us. So you guys are gonna be our eyes and ears and noses to Bixby Marshland. Hi, Basil.
Thank
You're
you,
live.
Maria. Thank you, Maria. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
All right, so right now I'm standing in the parking lot looking at the outer edge of the 17-acre wildlife oasis right here. And as Maria said, we're in the city of Carson, right off the 110 freeway. And so this is the first view you get when you step out of your car. And as we go along, so as Maria says, depending on the time of year, time of day, you'll see different things. A couple of months ago in April, May, this place was and early in the morning, teeming with birds. As we get more into the summer, a lot of these plants are growing or doing their things, and we might not see as many birds today. But as we go along, we're going to look at some of the plants. You know, as Maria mentioned, we revegetated the marshland. It's mainly planted with native plants, and we're going to visit some of these plants. So as we walk along, today, the thing that's caught my eye is this plant or tree that looks like it's wrapped in cotton ball. I don't know if you can see this. I like playing this game called Stump the Studio. So Maria and Nathan will have to guess. I'm going to go to an even bigger and more cotton ball-y version of this tree because I want you to get the effect. So these little cotton balls or snowflakes are falling off this tree. Can you see that?
Yes, we can, Basil. It almost looks like Christmas at Bixby in the middle of the summer. It looks like snow.
Yeah. And Maria, do you want to tell them what they're looking at?
This is a willow tree. Willows are very popular trees that love willows of water. So it's very common that we find them near marshes. So it's no surprise that it's here in Bixby Marsh. They help reduce the flood risk by the roots like hold on to the ground. And what we're seeing is this white fluff, kind of like dandelion looking. It's a way for the tree to reproduce. So like the wind carries it and it carries the little seeds, which sometimes we can see a close up. You could see a little black dot in the middle of this white little fluff.
Let me see if I can find a close up.
And that's what helps.
Pretty good.
Yeah, I could see it. So we see the leaves, we see the white stuff, and then you see these black specks. That helps carry the willows. It's a way for them to reproduce. The wonderful thing about the willows here is that then we're gonna find this white stuff kind of all over Bixby, and you'll know it's traced back to the willow. Willows,
yeah, I mean this white, it falls off the tree and it just floats along ever so softly and slightly, and it goes as far as you can imagine. Go ahead, Maria.
I was just gonna share that willows are actually it's actually the bark of the willow is actually the main ingredient for aspirin. This is where salicylic acid it's derived from. So it's been used traditionally to relieve fevers, pain, or inflammation, anything that you would normally, like something you would use aspirin for. So you would chip off a piece of the bark and like boil it in tea, and the way you consume it. There we go. And if you guys have any questions, or if you would like Basil to taste or tell you how something feels, go ahead and put it in the chat. We're not shy here. He's our eyes and ears, hands, and nose for us. So that is the willow. Very cool.
All right. And we're slowly moving our way through the marsh. And now this is one of Maria's favorite plants in the marsh.
Yes,
This is a type of rose, right, Maria?
that is the California wild rose. Right now, this particular bush is not in bloom. Maybe later on we'll be able to see one that's flowering, but it has this beautiful pink and what they call open face rose. You know, a rose is normally like a bundle, but this one lays flat. And this is native to California. So, you know, it's no surprise that it's here. It loves water, but it's also drought tolerant. So it's a beautiful rose, native rose. In fact, right now we're seeing the willow, the fluff from the willow, but it does have that rose smell. And it's edible too. I didn't know if you knew that, Basil.
No, I did not know that, but I will not. I'm full, so I won't have any.
Oh, I was gonna say, please take a
rose
bite if you see one. There we go.
And
And
the
like a rose,
willows.
I was gonna say, just like a rose, it has thorns. I think I could see it right there. There we go.
You see the
Yes, we see the
a
thorns
little
on the
bigger
fluff.
thorns. Let's try that. You see the thorns?
I do.
So California rose. And as we make our way through the 17-acre marshland, I want to point out one of the many spectacular trees and shrubs. But this one is one of my favorites.
This is Basil's favorite.
And I'm going to see if anyone knows what it is in the chat.
Very
Does
good.
anyone want to venture a guess? We call this stump the audience. Any guesses on what this is? It's about 40 feet, very close. All right, Maria, you're gonna have to, we won't cue the Jeopardy music, but we'll tell them what this tree is.
I don't see any guesses. Hold on.
Do
Are
you see
there?
any guesses?
I don't.
Let me see. And no plants or trees were hurt in the videotaping of this.
All right.
All right, so Maria, this is
So
a pine.
this is
Very
not
good.
just, it's not just any pine, it's actually the Tory pine. So the Tory pine is actually an endangered type of tree, it's the endangered type of pine. And they only grow in two, they naturally occurring in two areas in all of North America. One, which you may have tied the name, is in La Jolla, the La Jolla area. That's why you have the Tory pine reserves. And the second spot is in the Channel Island, Santa Rosa Island. Those are the two patches. The Tory pine, like we mentioned, it's endangered. So we're very lucky that we have some here that we're able to appreciate its beauty. We could see the needles, actually. The Tory pine also has the longest needles for any pine tree species. But unlike a Christmas tree, which has kind of like that triangular top, you know, like the Christmas tree look, the Tory pine has like an open crown, which kind of spreads out to the top. Basil, can you zoom in on one of the bundles so we can talk about the bundles? All right, so I thought this was really interesting. Everything's in design. So we notice how a Christmas tree has like the pine needles. Here, the Tory pine has bundles. You can see how the needles are bundled at the base, and then the base is attached to the stem. Each little bundle only has 5 needles, and that's specific to the Tory pine. So I always find that fascinating. And here's our beautiful Tory pine. I had heard, and this is unconfirmed, that they had sent some Tory pines up here to see if the area if they would grow here as a backup to the Tory pine reserve. I'm not sure if that's true or not, but they certainly love it here, and we're very fortunate to have one.
All right. And right next to the Tory pine is this neighbor with a very waxy leaf. And what it, see that. And this is a lemonade berry. And usually what you're seeing right now is one of the berries on the tree that's dried up. But the leaf is extremely waxy to retain moisture in the plant. And Maria has more info on this
Yes.
lemonade berry. And this tree is about, 7 feet tall. This shrub is about 7 feet tall.
Yes, so our the lemonade berries, it's like any other lemonade berry. You can actually eat the little pods. We don't have any right now, but you can also put it in water. It acts like a lemonade. It makes it like a tangy drink. So if you were
And
to
I'm
come to,
looking for berries,
I
but the
know
only ones I see are dried up ones.
that's okay. The reason you find the leaves are waxy is part of the, like it said, this is a native plant, right? So that's part of what helps the leaves retain water, the bush retain water. But again, lemonade berry's been used, and I always tell people when we're talking about Bixby that here you're supposed to use all your senses, taste the berries. I think pretty much any kind of thing here is edible. Touch the leaves, you feel different textures and smells. I hear this smells tangy. I don't, maybe when we have one in blossom, you could confirm that, Basil. But that's our famous lemonade berry tree.
And we're going to move down the path so you get a feel for one of the paths of Bixby. And I'm looking for lemonade berry with berries on it. You see more willows.
This might be a good time to mention that if you were to come to a Bixby Marshland tour in person, there would be a docent that would share, give you a tour if you've never been to Bixby, but you're also welcome to be enjoy it by yourself. We actually have people that come for many different reasons. Some people come to see the birds, some people come to see the plants, some people just come to photograph nature or insects, which is amazing because, Bixby is here to offer us all that. Okay, Basil, where are you?
So right now I'm at the fuchsia flowering gooseberry. I hope you can get a good, hope I'm focused in. What is that?
You could back up a little more. There we go. Yes.
And I want to show, I'll show the placard. So if you can see the placard, there are these tiny flowers that bloom on this gooseberry that you can see on the placard. And you can see a little bit of info on the gooseberry. So they have these berries that the wildlife really enjoys, but the plant also has thorns that make sure that there's always some berries left over to propagate the plant. I'm trying to get close so you can see some of the spines of the thorns along the plant. Can you see that?
Yep, we can see it.
Yeah. And then I see a couple of seed pods. So that's where the flower would be, but I think I don't know if it's opening up or it's dried up. I'm not sure. So this is the fuchsia flowering gooseberry.
A lot of times, a lot of our local folks actually enjoy coming many different times a year because they may see something flowering in the spring and dried by the summer. But that's one of the many reasons we always encourage people to make multiple trips to Bixby, just because things change, and this is a perfect example of that.
Yeah. And this is my personal favorite. I don't know the technical name, but it's called colloquially cowboy cologne. So if you snap a piece of this plant off, it smells like some kind of men's cologne. Supposedly, back in the Wild West, when the cowboys came off the range and they wanted to conserve water, they take a mess of this stuff and rub it under their armpits, rub it all around, and then step into the saloon. And I could see how it's pretty fragrant. There's a pretty strong fragrance, and it smells like some type of Old Spice type
Yeah,
deodorant.
that's the coastal California sagebrush, and you're right. It is very fragrant. It actually ends up doing many things because it's fragrant. Some animals use it for cover because the smell is strong, so it will like deter other animals from getting close. But also, it was used as bug repellent or deodorant, or even making tea. And I also read that if you gargle it, it helps soothe a sore throat. So again, nature multitasking here. This humble little brush right here.
Okay. And we're trying to move along the path. And then we have the right next to it. What does it say?
Oh yeah, look at that. It's like velvety almost. Touch it, Basil. Tell us what it feels like.
It feels like a 1970s jacket.
Oh,
The
I
Lord
know I
jacket.
know exactly what that feels like. Come on.
Yeah. And this is the purple sage, and it has a fragrance as well.
Yeah, this is used to flavor meals just like regular sage, and it can also be bundled kind of like potpourri to make a home smell fragrant.
Right. And I see more California rose, and I'm looking for one of my favorite, but it's not blooming. So I'll just keep moving. And when you come to the marsh, there are placards along the way. So if you want to do a self-guided tour, they have placards that highlight different aspects of the marsh, such as the fact the benches and most of the here in the marsh are made from recycled material. And this placard, like so some of the trees that were pulled out were repurposed for other things at the marsh. Plastic was used to build the benches, trash can, and even the bridge. And so we're going to go. There's more lemonade berries.
Oh, there it is. There we go.
Yeah, you can see some of the berries coming in. I'm looking for fully formed berries. You can see that. Am I moving too fast? Is the quality of the picture good?
Right now
You
perfect.
can get a feel. You see the color. See that? Those are berries, and they're some of the.
Is it dry, Basil? Is that a fresh berry?
It's not as dry as other berries. So.
I think you should eat it and tell us what it tastes like.
It has. Yeah. Those brightly colored objects are the berries. And then there's more purple sage. And I'm going to go over to, we have a gazebo over here. So I'm going to move over here to. It just reminded me. Okay. So I'm going to go into where we have the California wild grape. So one of the things, as the weather gets warmer, California grapes come in, and you can see, I guess in a couple of weeks or months, they won't be big as the grapes you see in the grocery store, but they'll be tasty. They'll be tartar, and they'll be tasty. The birds love them, and our guests love them. And so this is one of our gazebos. When it's open for student tours, students can sit here and have their lunch or have their lesson. And when I talk about repurposing some of the trees that weren't native, I think, Maria, these are eucalyptus trees, the bark of trunk of eucalyptus tree, if I'm correct.
Yes. So can you back up a little bit so we can kind of talk about this? So Yeah, actually, why don't you find a seat? We're going to talk about the restoration of the
Okay.
the site. So prior to the sanitation districts being involved, there was a mixture of native and non-native trees, of which the eucalyptus are actually not native. So they were removed, but rather than, disposing of them, which to us makes no sense, they were repurposed to be these gazebos. So we actually have two gazebos. This is our educational gazebo where, any lunch or any group could have a lesson or have lunch. And then we have one that's more of like a picture gazebo. It looks more like a rotunda. So the trees here are eucalyptus. And actually, if you don't mind me, Basil, make sure you're comfy. I'm going to show what the area looked like before we got involved. Is that cool? Yes? No? Basil, you lost him?
Yes. Sounds good.
Yeah. Okay, hold on. So I'm just going to line up my slides. So let me share my screen. So you guys can see this. This is what the area looked like back in 1995 when we kind of got involved. And step number one was to remove anything that was non-native. So this is where our tanks came into place. Here's the 110 freeway going north. And here's, I had mentioned that off, you're familiar with the area, off the Sepulveda exit, there's a target. The target's right here. So step number one was to kind of remove anything that was non-native. So this is actually a good reason. I mean, just you can see how much the marsh is thriving. We did hire a consultant firm to help us plan how to restore this to the best that it could be done. So we hired this firm to, they helped us identify what are the native plants that we should be including. And then I also think it's interesting, rather than just having one large lagoon, the path was, the water was made to flow. One, it helps filter the area that's coming from the Wilmington Drain, so it helps the water kind of get cleaned, and it also creates these little pocket of habitats. So this is a marking from the plan to restore the area. Once they removed all the vegetation and left only native, this is like bare naked Bixby right here, which you can see it's not much habitat can go in there, but you can see how it looks like now. And for those of you wondering, this right here is where the water comes in from the Wilmington Drain. So the water from the Wilmington Drain is storm water. That's not wastewater. It's not sewage water. It's not treated water. It's literally the water that runs down the streets, down the gutters in the streets, and it goes into the storm drain system. So that water comes in here. We have a pump that lifts the water up, and then the water just kind of flows down this like lazy river. And as it goes through, it gets cleaned. And once it goes through this whole path, it gets put back into the Wilmington Drain, clean, and then it makes its way into the ocean. So this is kind of like nature doing its little magic for us. And I think we're gonna follow the water now. Let me see, I don't know if we saw this one or not. Our previous aerial video showed us the path, like the walking path, but this one is just showing us water. The level of water, as you can imagine, varies depending on the season. So right now it's summer, we may not have as much water, but you can see all the little ducks enjoying the water. So we're following the path. And for our guests that go there in person, we're actually very lucky that we have this drone video, because you will be able to only enjoy Bixby from ground level. This gives us like a bird's eye view. The video is kind of choppy. Here's the Wilmington Drain back here. You can see it. And we're almost there, guys. It's acting so choppy. I just want to make sure you guys get to the end. We'll actually be able to see. This is the end of Bixby right here, and this is where the water gets introduced back into the Wilmington Drain. So this is the end of the water. And since I'm here, I'm just going to show you guys how the water, so when the water is plenty, this is how the water gets introduced into Bixby with that one pump. Lots of water. So this is my PSA. This is why it's important to make sure that, let's all do our part to make sure that the streets are clean, make sure that the storm water as clean as they can be. So it arrives clean here to Bixby Marshland. So with that, I'm gonna hand it back to you, Basil. Oh, perfect, you're there. Okay. Can I talk about this or you wanna share
Yes,
that?
you can go ahead.
Okay, so the eucalyptus trees, we see the trunks, right? And those have those vertical patterns. But if you notice, Basil, run your hands through one of those markings. We see these weird markings right there, are kind of like etched into the wood. These are actually, these markings actually follow the life cycle of the bark beetle. So like the beetle burrows in there, and as it's eating, it'll eat some of the wood, and then once it's done, it'll fly away. And what we're left is this like natural carvings in the wood, which are so beautiful. Or you may have never noticed that they're there, but I think they're just amazing. And some of the birds at Bixby know that there's beetles in there, so they'll kind of peck at them. You might see holes, because that's because they know that the larvae are in there. They're trying to get them out. Beautiful, beautiful Bixby.
All right, so I'm going to move on to the bridge.
Yes,
How are we doing on time?
it is 5:36.
So now I'm heading back on the path, and I'm going to go over to the bridge. So we'll go to the water body. And that's my favorite part of the marsh. Usually that's where I see our fine feathered friends. Real serene path. And we're literally next to the 110 freeway. I don't know if you can pick up some of the noise.
This bridge, it's like Basil mentioned, it's made out of repurposed wood from before. So again, everything we're standing on is like supposed to harmonizes with what we have. And here is our Bixby, the water part of the Bixby Marsh, I should say.
And if you came here a couple of months ago, this would be really full with water. But as it's getting warmer, our evaporation rates are going up. So the levels in the marsh are going down. And covering the top of the marsh is duckweed. I don't know if you can see that. The green stuff on the top of the marsh. But if you came back earlier in the year, there wouldn't be as much duckweed. There'd be a lot more birds on it, migratory birds. And the tall plants that you see, these are called tulips. These are plants that are specially adapted to grow in water. And if you look across the water body, the field of green is nothing but tulips. Get a closer shot of the tulip. Maria, do you want to tell them a little bit about
So
the tulip?
the tulip,
T-U-L-E.
yes. So one of the ways that this plant is adapted to the marsh is normally plants absorb oxygen, absorb the air from the oxygen from the roots, from like the base of the plant. But tulips, they can be up to 2 feet in water, so they soak up the oxygen from the stem, the green part. Traditionally, they've also been used for human use for like basket weaving, but animals would use it as cover and for food as well. So it's a wonderful plant, very typical of our marshes here.
Yeah, I can see this. I'm going to try to show. It's almost like a straw type effect.
All right.
So we're at the.
One question, it hasn't been asked, but it's very popular, is they ask if there's a lot of big fish here in Bixby Marshland. I know that having low water may sound kind of scary, but because the system itself is not connected to the ocean, there's no big fish here. Back when it was in the older days, it probably did. But now the only kind of fish that we have are mosquito fish, and that helps keep the mosquito population in control. So no mosquitoes here at Bixby.
And earlier in the year, you'll see geese and loons and mallards. I've seen early in the morning, I've seen raccoons right at the edge of the marsh. I'm going to walk across the bridge and go to the second gazebo, and also at the entry point where the stormwater comes into the marsh. Are there any questions in the chat?
I haven't seen any, but Christine, do we have any questions? I don't see any, but I just put on the chat if you want to check. I put our address in case you're interested, and also the website where you can recheck the announcement. And I'm also going to put our social media handles in case anybody's interested in following us on social media. We usually announce when the Bixby Marshland tours will be reopened or when they're happening, so people can join us.
All right, I want to highlight this tree. Maria, you want to talk a little bit about this tree with the maple type leaf?
Well, let's see. Does anybody in the audience want to take any guess of what kind of tree that is? Oh, wait.
And it gets much bigger.
Is that a fig tree?
Fig tree? Not quite. This is actually a sycamore tree. It's a sycamores actually have one of the largest leaf for any trees in North America. And again, it's something that you would find near a marsh because it likes damp soil. So of course we would have one here. The chip from, this is a young sycamore, but the chips from the bark from the trunk of a more mature tree can be boiled for coffee. So again, it's just, I find this so fascinating that you can use all this stuff. And just another side note, another name for sycamore is buttonwood, because you could use the wood for like butcher blocks or to make button. It's a really hardy wood. So again, our local trees, the sycamores right here.
And you can see the bark of the sycamore. And then right next to it is a tree with kind of spade heart type shape.
That is a cottonwood tree. So that's also another kind of tree that you would see near a marsh because he likes the damp soil. These trees are, they help with soil erosion and they can survive floods and droughts. So they're, it's nice to have here, right? They live near water, so it's wonderful to have them here. This is another tree that, similar to a willow, that it also gives off that little dandelion substance to reproduce. So don't be surprised if you see white stuff on this one either.
Yeah. And we're at the end of one of the walking paths, and I want to show where this is the entry point for the storm water. So back behind the tree is where the water comes in from the storm drain. And then, as Maria described, it meanders through the marsh, and what doesn't evaporate or percolate or evapotranspirate then leaves the marsh much cleaner. You can see the water back there. And as Maria mentioned earlier, it's the kidney, marshes are kidneys of land because they've cleaned that runoff. I'm going to show you.
Basil, we have a question. It says,
okay.
How do people support protecting the land? By donating?
How can they support? I'm not quite sure of the question. Support marshlands, or
I assume that they're saying protecting Bixby Marshland.
That's what we've come in. We've made it. When we expanded our treatment plant, we had the marsh here, and we thought one of the ways to give back to the community is to rehabilitate this marsh and make it create a small bit of habitat. So we take care of that. We'll have people, we'll have crews that come in and remove invasive species that might grow back in from time to time. And so we take care of this marsh. I think we just have to, one of the ways you can help is just be cognizant of the importance of habitat and speak out and do your part to protect habitat, because it's the
Yes.
biggest threat to wildlife.
I was going to say that wetlands are home to 43% of federally listed endangered and endangered species, and that's because you have aquatic and like land animals or birds. So it's they do a lot. That's why they're also very endangered. So you can support any marshlands would be great. Well, I think what we're seeing here, these are the grapes from the wild
From
grapes,
the second gazebo, you can
Yeah.
see the grapes coming in. They're about a third of the way in. They'll get about 3 times bigger, and they'll be quite tart. So if you like tart, come back in a month or 2 and have yourself a grape on us.
So this second gazebo is what we call the ornamental gazebo. A lot of people come to Bixby just to enjoy the scenery, the photography, many different kinds of photographers. We have a nature photographer, insect photographer. If you like insects, you can come and find them here, or just lots of greenery. I mean, you can imagine how much the vegetation changes throughout the year and the wonderful photo opportunities that you would get at this gazebo.
And then here's another set of placards. This one kind of dedicated to some of the wildlife you'll find in the wetlands, and talking about the importance of the wetland part of the Pacific. We're talking about Pacific flyover. And these birds that you see here, we've seen all of these here. Red-tailed hawk, the kestrel, the heron.
Can I
Can
I share some of the birds that we've seen here? Just so
yes, yes.
So what?
Because either it's too hot for them, or they've flown back to the north or the south. But yeah.
Yes. So normally when we do our tours on Saturday mornings, we take pictures of the birds so that we can get like a beautiful, view of up close. And I'll be putting the pictures, any pictures that we take today on our Facebook album. We'll make sure that you guys get a link. But right now what I'm going to do is I'm going to share pictures of past birds we've seen during our tours, just so you guys can see that nature does exist here at Bixby Marshland. It may not be the right time of day, but
nature beyond the plants.
I know. So Nathan, this is where you come in. Maybe you can tell us what kind of birds these are. Nathan?
Hi, how's it going?
Hello, Nathan.
Hi, Nathan.
Hi, yeah, this is a picture that Genesis took fairly recently. It would have been the May 1st tour, right in the heart of spring migration. And it's a Townsend's Warbler that was basically right in the parking lot. We saw about 6 of these, so they seem to come in a very tight window of maybe about a month and a few weeks to a month in the spring. So next, please.
Where's the Townsend Warbler from?
I know. Is it native or not native? Like,
It's I don't know exactly the range, but it's a migrant. So it only passes through during spring and fall migration. It's warblers pretty much eat insects in trees. And so this will be further north. Sometimes you'll see a few of these you can see a few of these in the winter, but by a few of them, I mean literally few of them. Whereas during migration, there's probably thousands spread across Southern California, going through.
Awesome. Okay, let's see our next bird.
This is a snowy egret. You can see that it has some feathers on the back of its head that's starting to grow, and a little bit on the tail. That's where they get the name egret from. In French, the word egret is AIGRETTE, represents these plumes. So herons that have these long feathers are called egrets. And this one, you can tell it's an egret, a snowy egret, because it has a black bill and black legs, and its feet are kind of yellowish underwater.
Awesome.
Next, please.
What about this little guy?
This is one of our most wonderful birds, although it's also fairly common. They're just adorable. They're black phoebes. You'll see them a lot in parks, somewhat around water, but they're a type of flycatcher. So they sit and perch and they look for bugs, and then from there they fly out, catch the bugs, and come back. But these are year-round residents, so these aren't just migrants.
Awesome. What about this guy?
This is this is an adult Cooper's hawk. This is one of the residents in Bixby Marshland. There's a certain portion, kind of the area around the parking lot and the initial part of the trail, where the Cooper's hawks tend to be, and we have nests every year. But if you go back towards the back where Basil finished the tour, that's where we tend to see red-shouldered hawks. So I don't know if you have pictures here, but
let me see. Let me keep going. Okay.
Yeah. But this is actually, let's go back to the other one.
Okay.
I need to tell you the importance. Cooper's hawks are a member of the genus Accipiter, and these are basically woodland hawks that fly extremely fast. So the tail is really long to act like a rudder, so it can direct itself through the trees. And they're in the trees flying around really fast because one of their prey, a big part of their prey is small birds like finches and sparrows. So this guy is a predator of other birds.
Oh, okay. What about him?
This we saw on the June 1st trip, a virtual tour. This is a juvenile red-shouldered hawk. You'll hear it going like caw, 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 and they like to kind of sing while they're flying over or flying by. But it's a little more drab than the adult. But if you saw it from the side, there'd be kind of a reddish patch on the wings, and when it's flying, it kind of reminds you of a black and white checkerboard pattern. Like the wings and the tail have that black and white checkerboard look.
Thank you, Nathan. So we're gonna go ahead and stop our tour now. Well, I want to put it back to Basil, who's gonna take us back to the front. And as we're walking forward, I just want to thank everybody for their time. This tour is available for groups, for schools, any city organizations. We'd be happy to do this for you. And I also would like, so let's see, I'll make sure I'll put our contact information in the chat, so that way anybody has access to us. And Basil, do you want to tell everybody the good news?
Yes, in July, first Saturday in July, it will be open. So you can walk around, and especially if you're a birder, it's just a spectacular place to see birds. We've seen over 100 different varieties of bird here, and usually in the fall, members of the Audubon Society come here and just catalog birds to their heart's content. So come the first Saturday in July, we will be back open. And I just wanted to share one of my favorite plants with that. And 8 to noon.
So yes, July 2nd, Bixby Marshland will be open to the public from 8 to 12. You don't need to show up. You can just drive over.
You don't have to register, just show up.
Just show up. But I think we're gonna go hybrid for a little bit. So we'll also be providing this same type of tour. So if you follow us on Instagram or Twitter or Facebook, we'll put the Zoom ID number so you can join us again if you're interested.
And it's just a very calming place. Look across the marshland. And as Maria said, in the 17 acres, you have 3 distinct types of habitat. And it's pretty amazing. And as Maria said earlier, a little bit of nature is better than none at all. So when you come here, you get a lot of nature, either on a microscopic level or a macro level. Looking for insects. A lot of times, when the flowers are blooming, you'll see dragonflies and bees and flies and wasps and ants.
And with that, I'd like to hand it back to Christine if you have any questions for us.
Thank you, folks.
Thank you so much, Maria and Nathan. It was a wonderful presentation. Thank you very much, Basil and Genesis, for taking us out to see the plants and the foliage and the birds and the flowers. Absolutely fabulous. We just didn't realize that it was all so close to us that we can actually go now on Saturday, July the 2nd. We can just come and enjoy the tour and enjoy the beautiful marshland. The address is 24501 South Figueroa Street in Carson. It's on the corner of Figueroa and Sepulveda in Carson. We have a new message from someone. So the new message is, let's see what it is. And if you have any other messages, please put them in there. Everybody is saying that they just didn't realize that it was this close and how beautiful it is. And I do thank them very much for presenting this today for us. It was a beautiful, it's just amazing that this transformation took place and what it looked like originally. So if you have any questions, put them in chat, and remember that you can go and tour Bixby Marshland on Saturday, July the 2nd. And I just can't thank this wonderful team of Maria, Nathan, Basil, and Genesis for presenting this to us today and giving us this opportunity for a virtual outdoor tour. Fabulous. So I don't see any other questions in chat. You can, there's a variety of tours that you can request, and you can also line them up for your school. So if there aren't any further questions, I just want to thank again the wonderful Bixby Marshland tour organizers for us, and thank you so much for doing this for us today.
Thank you, Christine, and thank you, friends from Pasadena, for having us. Thank you.
Okay, good night, everybody. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Good night.
Night.
Good night.